here with us. What's up, Matthew?
What up?
How are you, man?
Very good. Are we on the air?
Yes,
No,
sir.
we're definitely not. Say whatever comes to your mind.
Good, because I got to shoot on a couple things here. What's up, guys? How are you?
I love that we just use wrestling terms in every day. Oh, I got to shoot right now.
To this day, I'm familiar with the term. I always have to think about shoot and what's the other one?
Work. Shoot
is real. Work is fake.
You be working with some of the things you say. Some of the things you say, you be working. What? Just think, work is another way of saying pod. Kenny out here working.
It's a work.
Matt George, you want to shoot with us? You want to keep it real.
I'm mad because I'm mad the camera wasn't working because I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in early because I wanted to have a not good for radio conversation with you guys during the break because I've been on a WWE theme song fix. Because I watched an episode like Sheamus does this side hustle on YouTube where he does different gym workouts and basically interviews in the gym with different wrestlers. And he had LA Knight. And they were talking about the music they listen to. And LA Knight says that he works out to WWE themes. Like some themes just like fire him up. So I started listening to a few, or I just started listening to some. And there's some WWE themes that are just such bangers. But anyway.
Can you give me, I'm sorry, I need a few examples of a WWE song that's a banger.
The Usos theme song, Day One.
Okay.
Great song. I mean, that's the go-to.
I thought you might be going like Pile Driver by Coco Beware or something like that.
Sasha
Bro by Slick.
Sasha Banks had a banger of a theme song too.
Oh, Snoop Dogg on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sasha Banks was great. I mean, New Day has a great. It's not really a banger, but it's just a great theme.
That's a New Day. Yes, it is.
See, to me,
come on.
The WWE theme songs or intro songs. Like I remember when they came out with the CDs.
Yeah, WWE the music.
And for me, it was always like after 30 seconds, it's like, all right, don't want to hear this anymore. We're conditioned to hearing like the 30 seconds. But you want me to play the 4-minute version of Stone Cold intro? No. So I want to hear the breaking of the glass. I'll walk around the living room real quick. And that's the end.
That's the Usos theme. The Usos is 4 minutes of the same 30 seconds repeated and over again. But that 30 seconds is so hype that I'm in. I love it.
Oh, that's terrific.
Shout out to Rob W. Val Venus is.
Hello, ladies. Wow. Now all I'm going to vision is Matt getting hyped up to WWE theme music.
Absolutely.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Is that Bret Hart's music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime I have an important meeting, I walk into Roman's theme. Every time. Just walk in slow motion down a hallway.
Every time we have an important meeting, we just walk in with the one. So everybody knows exactly who we are.
That's
why everyone hates us.
Top 5 is Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
Top 5. Now I know the words.
Everybody sings that. Yeah, you got to sing that.
He does this little.
Yeah, he can't dance.
White guy dance.
Yeah, he cannot dance for nothing.
I take offense to that.
Well, you're not unathletic.
Sir?
We got to turn that look Matt just gave Kenny into a meme.
Sir?
Terrific.
That's how I know Kenny has never done any kind of sporting event with me, period. Why don't you invite me over to play basketball in your backyard? You'll change that statement within 30 seconds.
I believe in your agility ability.
Homie, I played basketball the other day. I cut to the basket once, and I was out for 3 weeks.
Come on, man.
I cut once. I did a hard cut off the ball. They didn't even feed me. And I was like, okay, that's it. I've had enough.
Oh, man. Do you have a Super Bowl prediction with the NFL season getting underway tonight with the Chiefs and the Lions? You got a Super Bowl pick?
I mean, selfishly for ABC 10 reasons, plus just I think they actually can do it. Like without being a Niners fan, I'm riding completely with the Niners this year. Like it's the highest of expectations I could possibly have for the Niners. I know you guys were having a conversation. I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday talking about if it's a bust or not. If they make the Super Bowl or rather like lose the Super Bowl or don't make the Super Bowl or whatever. I don't know if I'm going that far necessarily, but I'm just riding hard with this Niners team. And then the AFC to me, like the AFC is so stacked. There's like 4 or 5 different teams that I could see make it. And this hurts my heart from a Raiders fan standpoint. I'm really high on the Chargers. I'm just really, I'm a very big believer in Herbert. So I like the Chargers as a team. I have questions still, especially in the AFC West, which is the Chiefs division, but I think they're going to give the Chiefs the run for their money. So like you could tell me 5 or 6 different teams from the AFC made it to the Super Bowl and I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think my dream matchup, and a lot of this has to do with like my work environment, is probably Niners Bills. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Niners Bills. Okay. That's probably a popular pick unless you're Kenny Caraway, who's got the Bills out of the playoffs. But
yeah,
everybody else, that's a
I don't
popular
even have a
one.
problem with the Bills. I just I don't know.
Somewhat. I mean, when you think about it, though, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, there's probably a pretty strong likelihood one of them won't make it.
Yeah.
Just by like, and we went over the records from 2021. There were teams that were 12-4, 12-5 that didn't make the playoffs next year.
Yeah.
Like it's not great. I don't think it's one of those 3 teams, but it's not crazy.
Yeah.
You seem to hate all 3 of them now that I think about it. Like
Well,
you got the Chiefs.
I only got one of them not making the playoffs.
You got the Chiefs losing the division. You originally had the Bengals out of the playoffs. You showed them mercy, put them back in, and took the Bills out. So by default, you hate all 3 of those teams. You literally hate the top 3 contenders in the AFC.
I really believe in the Dolphins and the Jets, and obviously I believe in the Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl. So I don't think the Bills. Well, maybe Bills Bengals could still make the playoffs.
See, I'm with Kenny on the Jets, but it's completely because of Hard Knocks. I am the target audience for Hard Knocks because every single year, whatever the Hard Knocks team is, except for when it was the Raiders, like I'm completely on board with that team. Like I'm in love with Robert Saleh now as a coach. I think he's phenomenal. I thought Hard Knocks this year was really, really good, even though most of it was like a giant just PR job for Aaron Rodgers at this point. But like I'm really high, especially on the Jets defensive line. Like I'm very excited about the Jets this season because of Hard Knocks. So I'm a sucker. Like I was a huge Lions guy last season too because of how much I enjoyed Hard Knocks last year. So Hard Knocks will get me every year. Whoever is on Hard Knocks typically is going to get a fan out of me by the end of it.
Such a sucker.
Yep.
He said he's the target audience.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. Well, I think we're all excited that the football season is here. We'll be even more excited in about 3 weeks when NBA training camp is here. Are you just chilling right now, Matt? Are you mellow or are you anxious for the season to get started?
I mean, I'm consistently and constantly anxious. What are you talking about? And there's no such thing as chilling when you're hosting a daily podcast. You guys know this is hosting a daily radio show talking about this team through August and September. It's like, damn it, give me something to talk about. So, no, I'm definitely not chilling. I'm as anxious as ever to get this season going. Like a lot of thoughts running through my head this time of the year because there's nothing that we have other than time to overthink about things, and thoughts from like how the city will respond and like what the expectations are of Sacramento as a city. I had a conversation about this on my most recent episode of Locked On Kings. Like now that the Kings have made it out of that playoff drought, we don't have to reference it anymore other than a trivia question at this point. Thank God. But people forget, like when the Kings first came to Sacramento, they were bad for a long time. And then they finally got good, and that ushered in the glory golden era of the late 90s, early 2000s. Now that we've gone through 16 years of hell, 17 years, really, 16 seasons of hell, I don't think Sacramento, the fan base, is going to put up with anything less than another kind of golden age type run. Now, hopefully there's an actual championship at the end of this one, but I think the Kings need to be perennial playoff contenders, a perennial playoff team for 7 of the next 8 years, 8 of the next 9 years, or like, I'm not saying the fan base would necessarily tune out because I don't think there's much that this team could do to get Kings fans to completely tune out. But now that we've made it through, like expectations are high, and rightfully so. And I think they're only going to get higher as the team gets better and better. So, I mean, I'm on board for it. I think the Kings as a franchise, even though Monty hasn't been here the entire time. And it's weird thinking about it. Like guys like Kevin Herter, guys like Malik Monk, even Mike Brown, like they've never known Sacramento as losing. They've only known the Kings as winning, which is crazy to think about when we've had 1 year of winning. Fox and Barnes are the longest tenured Kings, but I think this entire team and organization owes it to this city to be relevant, competitive, and good for maybe the next decade. So those are the kind of things that I'm thinking about here late August, early September before I actually have basketball on the floor.
Yeah, man. And I look at this team and I get more and more confident in who they are as a team. When I just kind of look at the roster, look at games from last season. I think they're a really good team. I think they're a really good team. And they have a potential to be one of the best teams in the league, not just the Western Conference. I think they have that type of potential. You look at the roster, and I also look at things that always jump out to me that I lose sight of. Kevin Herter, 24 years, and now he's 25, but he's a young guy that's continuing to improve his game and going through stuff. I know he'd been in the playoffs, but he wasn't the guy in Atlanta the way he was one of the guys in Sacramento. So that experience might have been a little bit different, and he's, learned from that, hopefully. So I'm excited for this team. I really am. I think they're going to be really good this year.
One of the talking points every offseason is like, who's going to make the biggest jump next year? And the reality is with this Kings team that they can be significantly better with multiple guys making realistic jumps, not significant jumps. It doesn't have to be Kevin Herter turning into a 45% 3-point shooter and averaging 20 points per game. But if Kevin Herter can be like a 42% shooter over the course of the entire season, not a 40% shooter with a 50% month and a 30% month, like that's a jump. That's a positive step for Sacramento defensively. We talked about Davion Mitchell last time. Can Davion Mitchell, in addition to his defense, make a positive jump on the offensive side of the floor? It doesn't have to be dramatic. I'm not expecting Davion Mitchell to become a 12-point per game scorer, but is he capable of being more of a contributor on the offensive end? Absolutely. De'Aaron Fox's jump might be more scoring. De'Aaron Fox's jump might be 48 minutes of defense, or as much as he can give on that side of the floor. Sabonis's jump might be just confidence and consistency with that mid-range jumper. Like, you could go through this roster and pick one or two things that realistically every guy can improve on. And that takes this team from where they're at, which is, I think people feel pretty confident in playoff team, to upper echelon playoff team, and eventually championship contender. So that's why Monty is betting on this roster, is because he doesn't need everybody to change who they are. He doesn't need everybody to suddenly figure out how to be good across the board overnight. He needs each guy to make one or two different improvements. And I have full expectations and full confidence in Mike Brown and specifically his coaching staff that they are all individually working with all these players. You guys remember like media day last season, so many of the players were talking about the meetings that Mike Brown had with every single player. And he talked about what he thought their role was going to be, what he wanted them to work on. Like, that was the foundation that Mike Brown set for himself with this team right away. Now he has most of this team coming back. So what are these meetings looking like going into this season, right? It's like, okay, we established this in this area. Now I need this. Like, this entire coaching staff, I think, is capable of bringing one area of significant growth minimum out of each of these players. And you get that, the majority of this roster, you're right, Kenny, this Kings team is really, really good.
Have we had a chance? I don't think we did. Have we had a chance to talk to you since JaVale McGee signed?
Oh,
I don't think we have.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, it did. It happened Thursday after we said goodbye to each other. What do you think about that and the battle of the bigs that's going to be erupting at the Golden One Center in a couple of weeks?
I think we have our front runner for the backup center.
Yeah,
I think JaVale McGee's that guy, and it's twofold. JaVale McGee has the ability, despite his age, has the ability to fit in the Kings system and provide what the Kings need out of that backup center position. And JaVale McGee has the experience that you want in that locker room and on that bench. 3-time NBA champion. I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about like 70 games of playoff experience. Like, JaVale McGee knows how to get there, and when he's there, knows how to hang. regardless of what his role was on the championship teams or playoff teams that he's had. He was a significant guy with the Denver Nuggets teams of old. He was a rotational piece, an important piece for like the Warriors and the Lakers at times. Like JaVale McGee knows how to fill different roles on successful teams in the postseason. I don't know if you can cut that. So to me, JaVale McGee is the absolute front runner for the backup center. And still, my question is, as the backup center, the number 2, if this makes sense, the number 2-5, you're still probably behind Trey Lyles. Like Trey Lyles to me is still your most of the time. Now, I think Mike Brown's not afraid to make adjustments based off of matchups, which is good on him. But if you're going to say like the majority of the time, who is playing or who is in that 5 spot when Domantas Sabonis is off the floor, I think Lyles is still that guy because you need to find minutes for Lyles and you need to find minutes for Sasha Vezenkov coming off the bench. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Kings only pick one of these 4 centers that they have. They might end up going with 2, which in that case, I think the favorites are JaVale McGee and Alex Len. But there's a very good chance that it could just be one of those guys and the other 3 are, hey, thanks for your services, but we're good.
I think I don't want to say that's likely, but I feel
like it is.
Yeah. Because it's, and I honestly think Nerlens Noel might be on the outside looking in.
I think so too.
You got a guy like JaVale that is the
better version of him.
Yeah, exactly. And he's the best of the backup bigs. Alex Len, I think he did enough last year that you want to keep him around.
Oh man.
And then Keita, you want to give him an opportunity.
Yep.
Doesn't feel like he's not going to get much of an opportunity, though.
I know. But you still can. There's still an option to develop Keita.
Matt, refresh my memory. Or either he signed it. What did he sign again?
That was a 2-year deal.
But it's not a 2-way deal.
No.
Right?
No.
He signed it.
Keita's deal, it's a main contract, but it's partially guaranteed, and the full guarantees would be making the team. And I think opening day, like if he's on the roster by the first game of the season, I think it guarantees a good portion of his contract too.
So Stockton is not an option anymore, which I believe is the right call.
Yeah.
But it's either you made it or you didn't.
Yeah, it's not like the Scalabissiere contract, and James Ham does a phenomenal job breaking this stuff down. But like the Exhibit 10 contract that Scalabissiere signed is essentially, it's a training camp invite, but the expectation is that he's going to be playing for Stockton. And the Exhibit 10 gives the option for, I believe, it to be converted into a 2-way. I think that's how it works. Again, the CBA, I'm not a wizard like James Ham and other guys are. But as far as I understand, like Neemias Queta's contract is come to training camp. You're going to get paid a few $100,000 to come to training camp, which sign me up for that payday. And then compete hard, try and make the team. As soon as you make the team, more guarantees come on the other end of that. But I'm with you. As soon as JaVale McGee signed, I think Keita is deep on the outside looking in. But for Keita, the mission is still the same way. You're going into training camp and you can rival everybody. You can beat everybody, maybe even Alex Len, in terms of this system. You've spent 2 years in this system. That's the advantage that you have, in addition to the fact that you're the youngest guy out there. So show that you're capable. Show that you belong. In theory, Keita can do everything the Kings need from that position. But you have to do it at a level to where you're beating proven NBA guys. I'm with you too, Kenny. I think Nerlens Noel is number 4. If there's a power rankings of these 4, I think Nerlens Noel is number 4. Because Keita has the advantage of youth and Keita has the advantage of familiarity with the system. I think Alex Len is a safe pick always. No one's ever really going to turn their nose up at you having Alex Len on your roster. And then for the reasons we listed, JaVale McGee, I think, is the best guy for the job. So I think Keita has a tough task in front of him, but his approach should be the exact same as before JaVale signs and now after JaVale signs. It's, I need to go into training camp and I need to impress the hell out of this team that knows me better than anybody else.
Matt, Kenny brought this up a lot last year as the season was kind of going the way that it was going. And you have a new edition of the Locked On Kings podcast that I haven't had the chance to listen to yet, that dropped earlier today, that we encourage everybody to go listen to. But it's about like fan demands and Kings fans demanding long-term success. How different do you think this season is going to be? because Casey was adamant last year as the direction became clear, and it kind of was like, okay, we know the Kings are making the playoffs. It was enjoy this moment, enjoy how you feel right now, because next year you're going to feel a lot different. The expectations are going to be different. Your feelings entering the season are going to be different. Your feelings after a 4-game losing streak are going to be different than they were this year. Like virtually everything is going to be different. How do you think fans are like, what's your impression of how fans are going to react this year?
Yeah, I think personally, like short of falling on their face, I think Kings fans are going to be able to live and accept almost anything that happens this year. And like that includes good and bad. Now, I think what every single fan needs to ask themselves before the season starts, and then once the season ends, whether it's winning in the playoffs, losing in the playoffs, whatever, do I feel like the team got better? I think that is going to be the universal question that we'll have to. If there's a progress report over the course of the regular season, that's the question we're revisiting. Do we think the team got better? Because context can be different. 48 wins could look like the exact same, so you didn't go anywhere, but the team could be better, and there's just outside circumstances. Maybe there's injuries, whatever it may be. So do we think this Sacramento Kings team got closer to their ultimate goal, which is, as Monty McNair calls it, like opening that championship window? That's the check-in mark. That is the metric that I am measuring this team by over the course of the entire season. And it might be we might have better context come the trade deadline. Yeah, Keegan is the guy. Yeah, Fox and Sabonis are the guy. Maybe this guy ain't it. Maybe Harrison coming back. Maybe that wasn't the choice. Maybe you do have to upgrade that position. Well, Harrison is now on a contract it's not too hard to move. So maybe you make that decision at the trade deadline. Maybe you make that decision next offseason. Like there are going to be so many different aspects of this team that I think are going to that we're going to get good context on for ultimately going from that good to great gap, like Mike Brown talks about, and how difficult that gap is. But I can say this: it is extremely encouraging to go into a season with expectation. It's fun to know that opening night, Kings Jazz, I'm not thinking the Jazz are going to be a pushover by any means in that road game. But the expectation is the Sacramento Kings win that game. And will there be disappointment if the Kings lose it? Absolutely. But then like one of the biggest expectations I'm setting for myself this season is every single time the Kings play a home game, regardless of what team is coming in there, if it's the defending champions or the worst team in the league, the expectation is the Kings will win that game on their home floor. Like I just think fans deserve to have high expectations. Fans deserve to hold this team to a high standard because that's what they're holding themselves to. And while it's going to be easy for us to overreact to anything positive or negative, God knows I do that on Locked On Kings 9 times a day. That overreaction is ultimately all based in the fact that this is a Kings team that is capable of, at the base level, being good and is on their way to being great. So I think Kings fans are going to hopefully have a patience with that, but have an absolute right to have the highest expectations.
Yeah, I've said a number of different times, man. My outlook, at least right now, maybe things will change if they make a deal or if they show that, in the regular season, they're a lot better than maybe we're giving them credit for. But just make the playoffs. Establish yourself as a perennial playoff team. And if you make the playoffs and you lose in round one, it's going to sting. But that's when you say to yourself, all right, we have established we're a playoff team. We're not going anywhere from that. That's who we are. How do we get better to advance in the playoffs? Like that's the next step. And sure, you could be asking those questions right now. I'm not saying that you can't, but my thought process of it all is that's typically not how things work. Typically, you make the playoffs. You feel great about making the playoffs. You think everything that you did last year was correct, and you go and try and make the playoffs again. You make the playoffs, and then you lose. And you're like, man, all right, well, we got to make some changes now. And then that's when the changes are made and you elevate. So it's usually the pattern of an NBA team on the rise. We'll see if the Kings follow that pattern or not, but I'm staying consistent in the outlook for this team that I need you to establish yourself as a year in, year out playoff team. And that kind of goes a long way by making the playoffs next year.
And you know what I want to see from the Kings too is from day one, from the jump, shut some dudes up. like Domantas Sabonis, shut the people up that are saying you're a tier 4 center in the league, even though you were just all NBA third team based off of one playoff series. De'Aaron Fox, as the leader, as the star of this Kings team, shut everybody up that says that last season was a fluke or that they need to see more from you. Like I think everybody on this roster has somebody out there, whether it's locally or nationally. Hell, it could be people like myself and yourselves who don't necessarily fully believe in a certain aspect of the team or whatever. Shut somebody up. Like there are still not a lot of there are a lot of people that think the Sacramento Kings are fun. Hey, the Kings are a league pass team. Hey, I'm glad they're on national television. Hey, the beam is cool. There's a lot of people that acknowledge that the Sacramento Kings are a fun basketball team, but they don't believe in the Kings. Like shut those people up or change their minds. That's the attitude that I want to see this Kings come out the gate with, especially the people, the naysayers that are willing to discredit and move the goalpost every single time the Sacramento Kings take a step forward. Suddenly the goalpost gets one step further down. Like make it undeniable that not only are you a good basketball team, that you're well on your way to becoming great, and your general manager made the right choice for you and for the franchise to keep you all together.
I can't decide whether I think this team pays attention to that stuff or doesn't. Part of me believes that they don't. Like, I really don't believe De'Aaron pays attention to this stuff. Domas, the only thing that gives me hang up with Domas was the story he told about being on the plane to Sacramento. He's like, they're going to boo us. They're really pissed about losing Tyrese. And I can't decide. Like, I can't figure out whether the detractors, overrated, 4th tier, I can't decide whether they pay attention to all of that stuff. I'm leaning they truly don't. But I also, like, in my head, feel like by human nature, that feels like it's impossible.
Yeah, I think they see it all. They have to.
Well, whether your goal is to fit, like if you're picking someone on Twitter, or if you're picking a personality that said something about you that you adamantly want to shut them up, or whether you just want to shut up the general narrative about your team, it all roots in you doing what you need to do, handling what you need to handle. Like Domantas Sabonis knows that he needs to improve upon what he showed during the playoffs. Whether or not people are talking about him and his struggles in the playoffs or not, he does his job. People are getting shut up. So I don't know if I don't think Sabonis's motivation to hit that mid-range jumper is, man, I want to silence the people who are saying that I'm an overrated center.
That's for you, Bleacher Report.
I think his motivation is, I don't want Kevon Looney to outplay me again because I'm a better player than Kevon Looney and everybody knows it. Like that I think that's his motivation. Or maybe even take Kevon Looney out of it. I believe this team is special. If we're going to beat teams like the Golden State Warriors, hell, if we're going to make it to the Western Conference Finals, if we're going to make it to the NBA Finals, if we're going to win the NBA Finals, I have to get better in this area. I mean, it's all those players can say. Kevin Huerter, if I am more consistent as a 3-point shooter, anybody who's making fun of me for my 3-point contest performance, I shut them up, but my team is also better. So both are connected, whether their motivation is what people are saying or their motivation is winning, or both.
I'm all in on Kevin Huerter this year. Kevin Huerter got my attention.
I'm with that.
Yeah, Kevin Huerter got my attention when he was talking about not being in shape this year and, you know, feeling like that contributed to his struggles. Like, okay, I'm riding with Kevin Huerter this season. Yeah. I think he's going to have a better year than he did last year.
I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. You know, this is random, but I think both of you guys would appreciate this.
I always love when you start a sentence that way because I know an adventure is about to happen.
Well, this ain't really that.
Oh,
just, you guys, I just think you guys were sitting here talking Kings. I think you'll appreciate this. I went on like a deep dive of the Kings Instagram page and went all the way back to the playoffs. They've posted a lot since the playoffs, like a lot.
Yeah.
But something that I didn't know, and that kind of like makes a little more sense, is I didn't know Terrence Davis got the Defensive Player of the Game chain for Game 6.
Oh, yeah.
And he got the chain, and that makes more sense as to why he was probably in there so long in Game 7. Like, they looked at what he did in Game 6 and was like,
well, yeah, remember,
yo, you did a great job. Like,
he was
did this for
deflecting the ball all over the place. Like,
right.
he was active in Game 6. Because remember the shots, he wasn't hitting until late.
Mm-hmm.
He hit some pretty big shots late.
Right.
But yeah, Terrence was all over the place in Game 6.
I remember he played well defensively, but obviously they looked at what he did as super valuable by giving him the, DPOG chain. And I saw that. I was like, damn, I didn't realize that. That's why they went so long with them, in Game 7. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Still not a team, which is
That's
crazy.
crazy. That's crazy.
Man.
There's only one play I wish Terrence hadn't have made.
Which one?
The end of the third quarter.
Ah.
It was a 6-point game. The Kings had fought and fought and fought to get that lead. They got their ass kicked in the third quarter, it felt like, and they fought to get that lead or deficit, in their case, to 6. And then just he fouled Clay on a made 3, and it was back to 10. And I think we all deep down knew it was over then. But that just deflated the whole building.
You know what's even crazier is if he didn't foul him, we maybe feel different. It's only 1 point.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, no,
he didn't foul him, and he just hit a 3.
I mean, you literally can't score more points on a single play than that one. Like, it's going to have a little extra,
But if Clay would have just hit the 3 and Terrence didn't foul him, that sucks. Well, down 9 going in, but down 10. Lord, this one's over.
Double digits, man. There's something about that some about 2 digits. It's terrible.
I watched that game 2 weeks ago.
7?
Yeah, I watched that game. They should have won that game.
Have you rewatched?
They should have
game
won
7?
that game,
Matt.
I've rewatched it once, and I'll be honest with you. One of the main reasons why I rewatched it was just to watch, this sounds terrible, but just to watch Steph again, because Steph was so unbelievable. And just to remember watching him in person. I remember watching him in warmups during that game, and I had my camera. So I was tracking him during warmups and tracking different guys during warmups, and Steph during warmups was just stone faced. Not normally he kind of does his antics, and he still did his dribbling routine and his fun little shots and stuff like that. But Steph during warmups was just go time, and you could tell it's oh boy.
Oh no! When I saw Steph, maybe I'm not thinking Game 7. I think he started doing the electric slide at one point. I was like, oh, this is a problem.
Really? Man, I missed that.
Check. Yeah, he was. You were probably you were probably working, Matt. We were goofing around. Yeah. And I looked up. I don't even know. I know exactly what was playing. Cameo. Or Cameo. Candy was playing.
It's like candy.
And Steph, by himself, broke out into the electric slide. I was like, this is what we do before Game 7. All right. Domas, dance.
I have to find the footage because I tracked Steph for 2 or 3 minutes, just the camera on him the entire time. And he didn't miss a shot. And he was just totally stone faced, didn't miss a shot. And it wasn't even trying. He get the ball, dribble a couple times, turn around, flip, high arcing, splash. It's just he just looked dialed, and how the game played out didn't surprise me at all. So
I was just going to say, it's crazy just watching that game. Man, they had it. They had the game. Going back and watching it again, it's damn, they had it. They had the opportunity. Steph was amazing, obviously, but and the Kings had that Game 7. I went back and watched it because I just wanted to see the crowd, in that first half. And it was electric. People were going crazy. And they were hitting big shots to get the crowd to go crazy. And I was like, they were right there. They had it. And they didn't, we always say, they couldn't go from 6 to 10.
Yeah.
It was 6 to 3. And they just
to 5.
Yeah.
To 2 to 6. They never. And then what was it? We looked this up.
They were up by 2, I think, at the half.
What I remember from rewatching that game, I thought about this while you were just talking there, Kenny, is I was working and in the press box at the time, of the game itself. So we kind of do our best to separate our emotion up there. But watching the game back, even though I knew it was coming, I was seething angry with the amount of offensive rebounds. Just seething. And some of them were yeah, Kings, you got to do a better job. But others of it were basketball gods, knock it the hell off. Because these balls were coming off the rim at the most ridiculous angles and landing right in Looney's lap or Draymond's lap. And I'm just I don't care. You could have 6 guys boxing out in the paint. That ball pops out to where one guy is out of position and the ball's still coming to them. That was just unbelievably poor by the Sacramento Kings to not secure rebounds in that game. And you talk about, like, you remember the 3-point play or the 4-point play, taking the air out of the building. The Kings trying to rally multiple times, getting defensive stops in key moments, and then second, third, fourth, fifth chance opportunities. Like that was what took the wind out of the building for me.
I'm not rewatching that game.
I don't blame you. I'm surprised I rewatched it.
Hey, you know what the offensive rebounds were? It wasn't like you give up an offensive rebound on a possession. Like, it's all right. Like, that sucks. Or the ones that Matt's talking about where the basketball gods lead it to Kevon Looney. My issue was when it happened 3 times on a single possession.
Yep.
Because the you could feel the crowd, like every, all right. Oh, all right. Oh, come on.
Hell, the players were doing that. Like, Domas was like flabbergasted. He's like, bro, what is going on? Like, what is the hell's going on here?
And then I felt like every single one of those ended in a made 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was fun. This was great, Matt. Thanks for joining.
We're ending on a positive note. We're ending on a
very good.
note too. No, don't you worry. Don't you worry, because game 2 of the regular season, the home opener inside the Golden One Center, the Sacramento Kings are going to kick the Golden State Warriors' ass. It's going to be a blowout. The Sacramento Kings are going to take their opportunity to show that every little defensive assignment that you throw at Domantas Sabonis, you think it's going to work against. Sabonis is going to have 6 mid-range jumpers in the first quarter. He's going to finish with a triple-double. Don't worry about it. Game 7, who cares? Game 1 or game 2 of the regular season, that's what matters.